Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. In this stability matrix tutorial, I want to give you a visual approach on how to understand the folder structure which is used inside stability matrix, in order to give you the possibility to trace your dependencies and different models by yourself if need be. But before we begin, an important note for advanced users and professional developers who are currently still watching. This tutorial is supposed to be a beginner's take and visual guidance on how to understand the different folder structures. I will avoid to use overly technical terms and will only try to give a starting point for those who want to dive into the topic. In addition, many things I will try to visualize will be a coarse depiction of the really nitty-gritty stuff. So keep that in mind, please, if you keep watching, since I basically don't want to waste your time. So now, let's have a brief look at the schedule. First, we are going to open stability matrix as a starting point. Second, we are going to compare the UI interface of stability matrix with the folder structure and the function it provides. The third point would be pointing out the folders inside your Explorer and where to find the functions we discovered above. The fourth, visualize the folder structure without needing to reference the Explorer in order to get a technique for yourself, so you can identify the structure of the folders even when the installation is located on a completely different system and unknown to you. The fifth would be that we use the established tool above to use the method and dive into the folders in order to locate the basic saving points for the different packages and their coding environments. In addition, the shared models like .savetensors for use as an use case example. And the sixth point would be the conclusion of the tutorial, and I will give a few tips so you can prevent mistakes I already made. You don't have to do them or to repeat them, I guess. So yeah, let's start. So as our first point in order, we are going to open up stability matrix. And as you can see, I'm in the tab for the packages themselves. So this is a starting point where I'm going to build the image I'm going to give you so you can easily understand for yourself where you have to find what you are searching, basically. So yeah, when you open this, you see the different packages you already have installed in your stability matrix. And as you can see, you have options like launching or updating. Updates are only for the specific package itself. This doesn't include extensions or anything else inside the package itself, for example for ComfUI. Inside ComfUI, you would need to go in and update the custom nodes, for example. In Automatic 11.11, these would be the extensions, for example. They can have unrelated updates from the main package, so always check those afterwards. But this is not the only thing we can do here. When you click on these 3 points on the right top of a package, you have different options, as you can see here. You can check manually for updates. You have the option to open in Explorer. You have the option to browse Python packages, and you even have the option to open the GitHub page for the respective package, for example, ComfUI in this case. In addition, you have the option to choose your model sharing. System link would be referring to the actual structure of folders we are going to see normally. Config would be, I'm not really sure, but I guess it would be a possibility to specify different paths for yourself if you want to manage those links by yourself. But because sometimes in specific ComfUI can have somewhat different management points in comparison to Automatic 11.11, because it's more an advanced interface. Automatic 11.11 is really simple in comparison, so there can be a lot going wrong when you screw this up for ComfUI in specific. Automatic 11.11 could be easier, but ComfUI has somewhat special conditions. And you can enable output sharing, so the outputs of your packages will be shared inside a folder you specify. So first we are going to click Python packages. These are quite important. the Python packages you can see on the left here, which are quite a lot, are the Python packages which are installed in your virtual environment of Python. What that means, I'm going to show you later on in specific, but keep in mind, dependencies and coding specific tasks you are going to find in one specific folder in the package folder itself. The other folders which contain the models which are shared is in another location. So coding specific issues will occur inside a specific folder, which I'm going to show you later on. So just keep that in mind. Dependencies and different things which are installed in the Python packages are managed by each different package themselves. They are unique and won't be shared independently throughout the other packages. So yeah, that's one part which will be very important later on, since we want to locate the shared models as well, so we don't lose them, for example. Now that I've cleared that up, next will be the second part, where I'm going to show you how you can visualize this part of the interface inside your Data Explorer. So yes, let's keep on going. Now let's have a look at the folder structure which is respective for this interface. But as you have seen previously, we have an option to open in Explorer, so let's just use that. As you can see, I'm going to open the Explorer of ComfyUI, so the package itself is going to open. As you can see, the respective path where my stability matrix installation is located, then the data folder. In the data folder contains two different important folders, the packages folders and the models folders. As you can see here, we have entered the package folders and entered the ComfyUI package as we previously wanted, since we opened it by stability matrix. So now we are inside ComfyUI, inside the coding environment, where we can find stuff like dependencies and the Python packages we could see from before. Those are located inside this specific folder, so we are going to have a look at how we can visualize this inside a basic graphic, so you can keep track easier. Now I'm going to give you a broad overview over the structure with a diagram, I guess. It's pretty easy to describe what's coming next and how you can easily navigate for yourself in the future. So when you look at the depiction, we got our starting point, which would be the data folder where the location of our stability matrix installation lies. From this point, we have two important folders to choose from. First, the packages folder, where everything related to the packages themselves are located. For example, coding related stuff like dependencies, requirements, also the extension for the specific packages and their specific outputs, etc. or config data. So if you choose the packages route, be aware this route is basically only for managing coding related problems, often related to scripting, and usual data ends are .py or .text. Other exist as well, but they are the most common. And inside the packages route, you have the respective folders from the packages themselves. You can name them differently, but they represent the packages we have seen before in Stability Matrix. So on the bottom, you see the models folder. If you choose this route, you are going to get to the shared models directory. For example, Stable Diffusion provides the directory for your diffusion models. For example, the .safe tensors and the CKPT datas. Other exist as well, but mostly you can remember or note that here are located models related to diffusion models, LoRa models, also embeddings, and other models like upscalers and so on and so forth. So remember, packages is related to coding, models is related to the shared models, and other stuff you want to keep all across your different packages and share them. So if you search specific LoRa's or diffusion models, look for the models folder, and in there we are going to see different things and how it really works, but this is going to be in the next steps. For now, this was a broad overview. In the next step, we are going to get a bit more deep into this and give an example how you can use it for yourself. Step 5. Now in this picture, you can see we are going to go deeper into the packages path in order to have an example on how to manage the two different ways by yourself and which one you should choose for your problem or your search. So we begin in the data folder, so the location of your stability matrix installation. Then we choose the packages folder, go into it, and it contains all packages which were installed inside stability matrix by yourself. So for example, it would be automatic 1111. So we go into this folder. This is the root folder of your packages. We have seen them before in the first steps, where we have a look at things like Python packages and requirements and how you can update them, and you even got the possibility to go into the Explorer folder directly over the 3 points on the right upper side. So now, if you are in this folder, here on the left, you see I opened already. It displays the path I chose, packages, and then Stable Diffusion Web UI Master. So that would be, in my case, automatic 1111, an installation of that. And inside, we have the different folders. So now, keep in mind, all these files are only specific to automatic 1111 and mostly are in some sort of form related to coding or specific things and workings inside of automatic 1111, so everything works. So if you got problems specific to dependencies, this is where you have to look. A mention specifically would be the requirements.txt. That's a text file which gets updated by automatic 1111, for example, with the dependencies which need to be installed for new installed extensions you just recently added. So if you add an extension, it goes in and checks the dependencies, and if something is amiss, it adds it to the requirement texts if everything works correctly as it should. And that's not always the case, sadly. So inside this text file you see the current requirements which need to be installed for everything to be run accordingly. But even so, it's often not the case that you don't know what to install. It's often the case that you get problems when you install it or build it, in my case, for example. But that's in the last part when I'm going into tips. But first, just see this as a Python virtual environment, because every package manages its own coding environment. So the dependencies differ from package to package. That's why they all got their own VNV folder. VNV stands for virtual environment. It is basically the Python folder, which is the one we have seen in the first steps, and have a look at the packages. There you find everything related to packages or dependencies which are already installed, which would be a good example, Gradio, or other things like Xformers, these things which are really important. And if they aren't correctly set up, they are going to error at some point, and you normally don't realize where you need even to look for the problem itself. Also, the extensions folder is a very important thing to mention, because extensions are also unique to every package. And these extensions can also come with unique models and also unique other things like dependencies and code related stuff, which can later on cause problems, obviously, because when they are erroring out, automatic 1111 can't really fix this, because it can't even realize and add these requirements in the text file, because the extension errored out and couldn't even add the details. So it really doesn't happen, and you don't even know what to do. So consider your time is precious. So I really appreciate it that you go into deep this much, but if you don't have the professional skills and knowledge, I wouldn't suggest it. I have bad feelings of past experiences, but later on I will go into deeper in that. Just for now, this is the stuff which is related to errors when you start up normally your packages and something errors out or not finishes and so on. The other path is basically very simple and is shared, so there isn't much coding involved in that. It's only folders which are shared automatically by stability matrix. so they end up searching the models in the same locations. It's basically a way to manage that without even specifying it in config data or something. That's why stability matrix is very good for beginners. I really appreciate this. And last but not least, there are other folders to mention. For example, embeddings or outputs, which are also normally unique to every package. So if you delete or uninstall a package, all folders will be gone without redo. So keep that in mind. If you deinstall something or want to deinstall it, save your outputs folder so you don't lose your generations just by deinstalling it, because outputs normally get shared and other things as well. But if you want to know specifically what can go wrong, I have another video on that topic and maybe on a better solution on this problem. But if you really want to take a deeper look, this is the proper way. I can't really give you much more information because everything else would be way too much for a beginner. Let's go to the last step. It's maybe better to explain what I mean by that. But beforehand, let's have a brief overview what we now established. I changed to the other image again because it's probably more feasible for my explanations as example. Also on the right top corner you have the stability matrix UI with the packages, and on the bottom you have my explorer where I'm going to switch into the data folder. On the left you see it was our root folder where everything resides, and there the packages folder. We enter this folder and now we arrived at this location on the depiction, the coding department. Also the same as shown up here, packages, and you see the naming convention is the same as the folders, so they are basically the same, just in another style, I guess, more visual, polished. So since we have established that, just remember most errors and dependency issues probably reside in your packages folders itself. Your models folder is basically only a collection of models which are shared in the same folders and managed for you in order for simplicity. My god, talk too much today. So yeah, normally you don't need to consider that when you got errors or problems, but always keep in mind, even if they are saved in this directory, not always are they even considered by some packages because they don't give the utility or the extension for even the possible usage of that. That's especially extreme in the case of ComfyUI in respect of the other packages, I guess, because it's a lot more modulate, I guess, and more for professional use. And if you really know what you are doing, it's really good and really a bliss to use, but also it can be a big pain, which I'm coming to now. Since we are arrived at my tips, I'm going to blend in my tips for you so you can read while I'm taking one by one. So first of all, consider yourself lucky, because since you still are here and still listening to me and want to educate yourself and further broaden your knowledge, even though I fear you don't know what you are letting yourself, because it can be quite difficult to discern if your effort will really be worth the value you are going to achieve by putting the work in, I guess. But that's basically something positive. That means you are really not afraid of educating yourself even in very broad and even on expert currently basically Wild West and unknown territory when it comes to coding, AI and everything, because just this open source part is amazing. It's basically a cluster evolution of education for everyone who basically wants to help and want to improve the same thing without money as a concern, because normally that's a way to damn evolution and progress, obviously. But number two would be my basically, how should I put it? I don't want to say you should do things. I just want to give you a take what I learned in my past experiences, and I hope you just will learn from them, because I want to remind you that you need to value your own time. It's precious, and even even though you are obviously inclined to reach your goals, sometimes you maybe are better advised to reconsider your options a lot sooner than normally it would be the case, I guess. Which would be the third point, I guess. My past failure would be quite normal, I guess, for a beginner. And since I'm also someone who wants to know what's going on and what's wrong, and I want to learn how the things work in the background normally. But in this case, it was hell on earth. I had a problem in CompUI specific in the custom nodes with the reactor node, and it requires you to build a dependency which is named fsite. Was it fsite or fsite? Fsite, I guess. And it wasn't working for me. The Git page gives you installation instructions, multiple by the way, and I tried both different ways to build the dependency which was required, which was even you need Visual Studio building tools or some other application to build the dependency. And even though I tried updating and reinstalling the tools, it won't work. Somewhat went wrong and I couldn't figure out what went wrong. And I really tried a long time, for days, to build this dependency just to reconsider and having a closer look at the installing instructions again. And who would have thunk a third option was there? If nothing else works, they had a data downloadable, so you don't need to build the respective dependency by yourself. Just download the dependency they provided and it will work, so it can further install what it needs to do without consider the requirement building. It was amazing. I was so furious and it wasn't really worth it, the hassle, I guess. The possible solution was so far away and still I didn't know what happened really, but I should have considered earlier just to take another route. Don't try to solve things which are basically above your head, because it would be the same thing when you go to a smith and say, yeah, that's a fine profession you have there, good sir, I'm going to do that as well. Lend me your kiln and I'm going to smith you a sword. And do you think that would work? No, it wouldn't. Coding is professional, basically, territory. If you really want to know what's happening, you need to set up everything accordingly, obviously. And there's a reason why professionals in teams really are standing behind debugging and figuring out what's wrong. You basically go in and tell yourself, that can't be that difficult. I mean, a few years of learning, what is that supposed to take, I guess? With, I guess, no really payment behind that, only personal curiosity. So it's not a bad thing, but especially in this case, always consider what you are trying to do, and even if you are going to be able to do that, even if you take a lot of time, it's basically not worth it. And at some point, someone normally has already a very basic solution for your problem, but you either think not about that in that time, or you are basically too proud of yourself to consider that, but in the end it's not worth the hassle. So point 5, consider yourself special, stay as you are. Since you are still here, I'm thanking you for watching. Hopefully this was useful for you, even though the conclusion was somewhat special, I guess, but I tried at least to give you an overview how you can progress further. But beware, even though you know where to look, it doesn't really mean you are going to figure out where it happens. Just trust me. Even though it's something special like antivirus or administrator rights or something like that, you don't really know that's the really issue here, because you don't gain any info and you think somewhat some dependencies or somewhat is wrong, but no, your antivirus just think it's a virus, or administrator rights prevent the respective codes from writing to data and it fails, obviously. But it never says in the errors or something, because obviously it doesn't know that it doesn't have the rights. Sometimes it does, but it's cryptic sometimes, especially in this case. So yeah, I wish you a wonderful day. Thank you very much for watching.